Welcome to Truthful Manipulation. In a world where truth is bent, facts are framed, and influence is too often used without conscience, this podcast stands for something different. I'm Dave Kelsey, along with H. Daniel Mujahid, and together we expose manipulation, defend integrity, and help you see clearly in a world determined to confuse you. In today's world, loyalty is cheap, integrity is expendable, but wealth's untouchable.
And that's not just a feeling. It's not just a frustration. It's not just bitterness from ordinary people who feel left behind. It's the pattern. It is the structure. It's the message society keeps sending us, you and I, over and over again.
And if you have money, people listen differently. If you have status, institutions move differently. And if you have influence, rules suddenly become flexible. But if you have integrity, if you have loyalty, if you have character without a big checkbook, too often you're praised in public and passed over in private.
Welcome to Truthful Manipulation. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Dave.
And today we are asking a hard question, a necessary question, but a dangerous question. Why in today's society does wealth eclipse integrity and loyalty?
And maybe the deeper question is this: who taught society to value it that way? Let's get right into it. This didn't happen by accident. The evolution of wealth over integrity was not some random cultural drift. It was fed, rewarded, protected, institutionalized. And that matters, because if you misunderstand the disease, you'll never attack the right cause.
That's right. People sometimes talk about this as if it's just human nature. Like, we say, well, people admire success. People always chase power. Money always talks. No, that's too easy. That lets too many people off the hook. What we are seeing now is not just admiration of success. It is moral surrender to wealth.
That's the line right there, Daniel. Not admiration, surrender. Because there's a difference between respecting somebody who built something meaningful and bowing down to somebody just because they have money.
And our American society, especially today, it keeps confusing the two. We have people assuming wealth is the same as wisdom. We have institutions acting like money equals moral authority. We have communities treating rich people like they must know more or see more or deserve more. And too often, none of that is true.
Money can mean strategy sometimes. Money can mean discipline sometimes. Money can mean talent sometimes. But money can also mean exploitation, manipulation, inheritance, access, silence from people who should have spoken, and systems built to protect the already powerful. And that's what people don't want to say out loud.
Right, because the minute you say that out loud, you threaten the mythology. The mythology says that wealth is always, earned fairly. The mythology says that the rich are automatically more disciplined, more visionary, more deserving. The methodology says that if someone has money, they must have done something right.
No. Sometimes they just learned how to win in a system that rewards the wrong things. And a society that worships winning will eventually stop caring how the victory was bought.
Now, here is where the conversation gets even more uncomfortable, ladies and gentlemen, because it's not just individuals that protect wealth, it's institutions.
Can you say that again, Daniel? And can you say it again slowly so that people understand this?
It's about our institutions. Banks trust wealth. Political systems protect wealth. Corporations chase wealth. Media amplifies wealth. Universities court wealth. Nonprofits depend on wealth. And yes, even churches and synagogues and masajid, civic groups, and community organizations bend towards wealth. That's why ordinary people feel like the game is rigged. And many times it really is.
So let's break that down into plain language. If a person of integrity speaks up inside an institution, what often happens? They get labeled difficult, not a team player, too intense, too honest, hard to manage. But let a wealthy donor call. Let a connected executive weigh in. Let somebody with access and influence put pressure on the room. Suddenly, the conversation changes.
Oh, yeah. We've been in a lot of different corporate settings. We know the value statements stay on the wall, but the real values show up in the decision. That's where manipulation really comes alive, you know? Not so much the slogans, not so much what the mission statement says, not so much even the ceremony and processes and practices. Manipulation shows up in who gets protected,
Who gets the second chance?
who gets the quiet meeting,
Or who gets the PR cleanup?
who gets forgiven, who gets the grace.
And who gets sacrificed?
That's why loyalty feels so devalued right now. Because people watch institutions use loyal people like a scaffolding, standing on them, climbing on them, biting on them, building with them. Then they remove them from the structure when they're no longer leading and just look at them. And when people see that enough, they change.
They stop believing in loyalty, or worse, they begin to see loyalty as weakness. That's a cultural tragedy. But loyalty is not weakness. Loyalty is the backbone of any relationship, any real team, any real community. But when institutions reward betrayal, as long as betrayal is profitable, people start learning the wrong lessons. And once betrayal becomes strategic, integrity starts looking expensive. If today's conversation is hitting home, then spend more time with us at Truthful Manipulation, the podcast and the book. We don't just talk about what manipulation looks like, we talk about how it hides, how it spreads, how it gets normalized, and most importantly, how to recognize it before it owns your thinking. The book is Truthful Manipulation, a roadmap to live by. The podcast is where Dave and Daniel take these issues head on with honesty, clarity, and conviction. If you're tired of surface level talk in a world built on spin, this is for you. Now back to the show. So let's go deeper. Why do people do this? Why does wealth carry so much power over human judgment?
Well, part of it is fear. People believe money means safety. So they begin to attach moral value to the things that they fear losing. Money becomes more than currency. It becomes a type of identity, a protection, a status, a proof.
And once money becomes proof, people stop asking what it actually proves. Does it prove character? No. Does it prove loyalty? No. Does it prove honesty? No. Does it prove that somebody should be trusted with influence over other people? Absolutely not. But society acts like it does.
And another reason is aspiration. People often admire the wealthy because they hope to be wealthy. And it is hard to judge clearly what you secretly want to become. That's the trap. When aspiration mixes with insecurity, people excuse in others what they hope success will one day excuse in themselves. That's manipulation, too.
That's huge, Daniel. So I'm going to ask you to say that one slowly again.
When aspiration mixes with insecurity, people excuse in others what they hope success will one day excuse in themselves.
That's why some people defend a wealthy no matter what they do. Not because the wealthy are always right, but because those people are defending a fantasy version of themselves. They're not protecting truth, they're protecting aspiration.
And then media comes in and puts a spotlight on the whole thing, huh? The cars, the homes, the private flights, the private islands, the access, the circle around power. People start confusing visibility with virtue.
And that's one of the oldest manipulations in the book. Make people visible enough, and a portion of society will assume that they're valuable enough.
And here's the danger. Once society starts admiring appearance even more than substance, it becomes easy for hollow people to lead full rooms. A spotlight has never been proof of a soul.
So let's talk about the other side of this, the human side, the personal side. What happens to loyal people? What happens to people that actually keep their word?
Too often, they get worn down. They are the employees who stayed late and got replaced anyway. They are the friends who stood by somebody during the struggle and got forgotten after the success. They are the spouses, partners, co-workers, and community members who carried the weight when nobody wanted to. And then one day, they look up and realize something painful. They were useful, but they were not valued. They were you and I.
And that realization changes people. It can make them bitter, it can make them cynical, it can make them pull back, but most of all, it can make them stop trusting. And it can make them start questioning whether integrity is worth it. And that's where the real damage happens.
Because once good people begin to believe integrity is foolish, the culture shifts another step downward. Now the corrupt are not just winning, they are recruiting.
And that's a line we should never cross. The corrupt are not just winning, they are recruiting. Because every time a truthful person says, you know what, forget it. Maybe I need to play dirty too, society loses ground.
Exactly. The danger is not only that wealth gets rewarded over character, the danger is that people start adapting to that reality by killing their own standards and values. That's how manipulation goes from the top of the system to the bloodstream of a society.
And now trust starts collapsing everywhere, inside families, workplaces, politics, friendships, neighborhoods, because people who no longer believe loyalty will be honored, they protect themselves first.
And when everybody protects themselves first, community becomes a theatrical performance. A society cannot stay human when every relationship becomes a transaction. You're listening to Truthful Manipulation, where we challenge the systems and habits, the hidden motives, the way, we are shaped in our thinking, you and I, how we live, how we lead. If you want more than slogans, more than headlines, more than recycled talking points, join us each week. Join us with our podcast. And if you want to go even deeper, pick up our book, Truthful Manipulation, a roadmap to live by. Because truth without courage gets buried, and awareness without action changes nothing. And now back to our show.
Let's hit something head on. Why do so many people trust wealthy people as if they have moral authority?
Because wealth creates an illusion of competence, and that spills into areas where it does not really belong. Somebody succeeds in business, and suddenly people treat them like they understand human dignity, like they understand justice, or like they understand what communities need, or even that they understand truth itself. That is one of the most dangerous leaps that society can make.
Success in one arena doesn't make a person trustworthy in every arena. Being rich doesn't mean you understand suffering. Being powerful doesn't mean you understand fairness. And being visible doesn't mean you deserve to be followed. And yet, look how often people confuse those things.
It's easier to follow success than to examine character. Character takes time to observe. Integrity requires consistency to be proven. Loyalty has to be tested. And truth has to be lived. But wealth is visible at a glance.
So we build shortcuts. We say, well, they must know what they're doing. Well, they must be smart. Well, they must be disciplined. Maybe, maybe not. The deeper issue is this. Even when people know better, they still bend towards wealth because wealth can reward them.
And that's where the moral compromise happens. Not always just in the ignorance, not even always just in deception. Sometimes in our calculated complicity and silence.
And that's it, Daniel. Calculated complicity and silence. People know the wealthy person is wrong. They know the powerful figure is disloyal. They know the institution is protecting the wrong side, but they stay quiet because there's something to gain: access, position, opportunity, protection, money.
And the minute silence becomes strategic, integrity itself starts dying in public, while everybody calls it wisdom. Sometimes the loudest corruption in society is hidden behind polite silence. Now let's talk about language. Because manipulation always travels through language. Pay attention to the phrases people use when wealth is being protected. They say things like, be practical. That's just how the world works. They say, don't burn your bridges. You have to be smart about this. They say, don't take it personally. But what they often mean is this: do not confront what is wrong if the wrong person is powerful.
That's strong, and it's true. The language sounds reasonable, sounds mature, sounds strategic, but many times it's just moral retreat in professional clothing.
Yes, Dave, yes. And then when somebody with integrity finally speaks up, what happens? They get called emotional or naive, or maybe they're disruptive, Oh, how about this one? They're self-righteous. Why? Because truth is inconvenient when a room has already chosen comfort over courage.
And wealthy corruption rarely survives in silence by force alone. It survives because language helps decorate it. Strategic partnership, necessary compromise, complicated decision, long-term interest, protecting the organization. No, call it what it is. Sometimes it's cowardice. Sometimes it's greed. Sometimes it's favoritism. Sometimes it's loyalty being sold for access.
Now, if language hides the truth long enough, people stop resisting the lie. The first manipulation is not in the decision itself, it's in the wording that makes the decision sound honorable.
This is Dave from Truthful Manipulation. If today's episode's stirring something in you, stay with us. Our mission is simple: bring truth to manipulation, shine light on what's hidden, and help people live with awareness, integrity, and courage. Listen to the podcast, read the book, Truthful Manipulation, A Roadmap to Live By, and share it with someone who's tired of watching truth lose ground to power. And now back to the final segment of our show. Let's be honest about something. Integrity sounds beautiful until it costs you something. Then we find out who really believes in it.
Yes, indeed. Integrity is easy when it's applauded. Loyalty is easy when it's convenient. Truth is easy when it does not threaten your comfort. But what about when integrity costs the promotion? When loyalty costs the invitation? When truth costs the relationship? When saying no to corruption costs access to the room?
That's where the real character lives. Not in a quote, not in a post, not in a speech. It's in the moment where a person decides, I'll not sell what matters most just to protect what benefits me most. And that's why integrity is so threatening to corrupt systems, because a person who cannot be bought is hard to manipulate.
And a person who cannot be bought reminds everybody else how cheaply they sold themselves. That's why institutions sometimes isolate truthful people. They are too revealing.
You know what's wild?
What?
The very people society should trust most often are the people society marginalizes first. The whistleblower, the truth teller, the loyal friend who refuses to lie for you, the employee who won't cut the ethical corner, the leader who won't trade principle for applause. Those people expose the room.
Now, exposure, that's a dangerous thing to systems that survive on image, Integrity is not hated because it's weak. It is hated because it is expensive to everybody living cheap. So now comes the real question. What do we do, America? We, the people. How do we live with integrity in a culture that keeps rewarding wealth over character?
First, we have to stop being impressed so easily. Don't confuse wealth with wisdom. Don't confuse status with substance. And don't confuse access with excellence. Ask better questions. How was it built? Who was used? Who was discarded? What did it cost in truth? What did it cost in loyalty?
Secondly, honor the right people, not just in the speeches they deliver and in the decisions. Support the truthful, defend the loyal, back the person who keeps their word. Elevate people who have character even when they do not have flash. A culture changes when admiration changes.
And third, stop rewarding institutions for hypocrisy. If an institution preaches value and protects corruption, call it out. If an organization talks about ethics and bends to money, name the contradiction. And if a leader demands loyalty from others while offering none in return, do not dress that up as strength. That's not leadership. That's extraction.
Fourth, refuse the internal lie that integrity is weakness. It is not weakness to stand when bending would benefit you. It's not weakness to tell the truth when silence would pay. It's not weakness to remain loyal when a betrayal is trending. That's strength with a spine.
And fifth, teach the next generation the right scorecard. This is probably the most important at all. Teach the next generation the right scorecard, not just how to win clean, how to lead with character, how to build without using people, and how to keep your word when it's costly. Because if we only train people to chase success, we should not be shocked when they abandon integrity to catch it.
The fight here is deeper than money. It's about what kind of people we are becoming. Whatever a society rewards long enough, it eventually becomes.
So let's close that this way. Wealth has a place. Ambition has a place. Success has a place. But if wealth must crush loyalty to rise, it's not success. And if ambition must bury integrity to win, it's not greatness. And if institutions must protect corruption because corruption is profitable, then those institutions aren't leading, and they're definitely not the best. They're surrendering.
And that's where we are today, America. That's where we, the people, that's where we are. We're in a society where too many people are thanked for their loyalty and discarded for their truth. A society where wealth gets the microphone while integrity gets the memorial speech after it is ignored. That cannot keep going if we expect trust to survive.
But trust isn't built by money. Trust built by character. It's built by consistency. Trust is built by truth. And trust is built by loyalty that doesn't disappear when the room gets expensive. And once trust is gone, all that's left is transaction.
And once all that is left is transaction, our society becomes a marketplace of masks. Everybody selling. Nobody standing for anything. Everybody performing on the stages, but nobody is rooted. Everybody seems connected, but nobody is loyal.
So the question's not simply why wealth eclipses integrity and loyalty today. The deeper question's this: what are you willing to worship? What are you willing to excuse? What are you willing to become in order to stay close to power? Because every person answers that question, not with words, but with their choices.
And if our society keeps bowing to wealth while turning its back on integrity, it should not be shocking that corruption no longer has to hide. It doesn't need to hide. It will govern. It will do the hiring. It will do the rewarding. Corruption will define success. Corruption will train our youth. And corruption will call all of this normal.
But we don't have to call it normal.
We do not have to celebrate it.
And we don't have to bow to it.
We don't have to become it.
This is truthful manipulation.
Where we name the lie.
Expose the system.
And we fight for the truth.
With integrity.
And I'm Daniel.
And I'm Dave. Thank you for listening.
And remember this.
When a culture rewards wealth more than integrity, it doesn't become strong. It becomes purchasable. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Truthful Manipulation. Don't forget to comment on this week's show at truthfulmanipulation@gmail.com. Pick up a copy of our book, Truthful Manipulation, A Roadmap to Live By. It'll help you see these manipulations and clear your thinking. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe at truthfulmanipulation.com. And pass this podcast on to somebody that you think would benefit from it so that we can expand this community. Thank you very much for listening this week. Have a great week, America.